So I'm just going to give it a few seconds because sometimes the start of the lives are cut off. Just thought that we could have a little chat about Gypsy Rose Blanchard because, because probably as the whole world knows, Gypsy Rose has been let out of prison. So she served 8.5 years of a 10-year sentence. She is on parole. And there's just a few things in the news that, and comments that people are making that I thought, well, I want to address that. And yeah, then I thought I'd see what people think about her and the situation. So Gypsy Rose Blanchard, she and Nicholas Godejohn, a young man that she met on the internet. She knew him for a few years before the murder. And someone going to say hello? No? So she met him a few years before they murdered Dee Dee, her mother. And it's quite a warped situation as far as this relationship between Gypsy and Nick goes, because it's like being stalked, isn't it? Because, they've created together, this union has created this very dangerous entity. When sort of people to get together, you sometimes have this folie-à-deux situation. I'm not saying that's what this was, but just the worst parts of these two people really amplified, and it was like an absolute runaway train. The things that people are saying in comments, etc., that just annoy me are things that a simple little bit of information, if they bothered to wonder about it or look for it, would stop them from saying these ridiculous comments. I don't know why these things irk me so much, but they really do. They're just little things. But Gypsy Rose was released. Her husband, his name is Ryan Anderson. He picked her up. This dropkick couldn't even turn up with shoes for her to wear. And Gypsy's all excited. She wants to go to a sports event. She's excited because she might get to meet Taylor Swift, because the game had Taylor Swift's boyfriend playing on one of the teams. And because of Gypsy's past life, it's quite natural for her to assume things. Maybe I think the press and commentators are making too much of that. I think maybe they're making that up, that Gypsy Rose expected to go and meet Taylor Swift, but maybe she was excited that Taylor would be there. Who knows, right? But is Gypsy still this delusional? I don't think so. But what irks me is that people are upset that she wasn't allowed to stay in the state where the game was going to be played. And they can't understand why she had to be moved on. And they say things like, but she should be able to live wherever she wants. She's free now. And, they're just taking up in arms for her about this point. And they seem really personally offended. Rose has to do something. Well, Gypsy Rose does have to do something. She has nominated where she was going to live, which I believe that's in Louisiana, and she's on parole. I don't know how long her parole period is, but she's on parole, and she has a parole officer, and she has a place where she has to report or whatever, and there's a schedule, and she's legally not allowed just to go wherever. She doesn't have that type of freedom at the moment. I don't know if it's because her sentence was 10 years, and so now her parole is for maybe 1.5 years to see out the rest of her sentence. But that's just the way it is. So people saying, oh, that's not fair. No, she's always known this was the case. She should have expected not to be able to do this. And it's expecting special privileges and for the law and everything. Hi, Fran. For things to just be ignored by allowing her, okay, to stay in a state that she's not legally allowed to be in. She has to be in Louisiana, and she has to be there for a certain period of time, and it's something that she chose. She probably could have chosen to be in any other place, but she hasn't nominated another place. She's nominated Louisiana. So anyway, I don't know why that shits me so much, but it's just something about the way people process things and can't be objective and just matter of fact about things like this that just really piss me off. You know, it is a strange case. Happy New Year, Sleuth. It's a strange case, but you know, for all that I think about Gypsy Rose now, she is still, you know, she's the victim. She was victimized throughout her childhood. Her mother started pretty early on by stating that Gypsy, as a toddler, was having seizures. She was saying that Gypsy had muscular dystrophy, even though testing proved absolutely otherwise. Hello, Ray. Happy New Year. And she said that she had leukemia, asthma, problems with her eyes, brain damage. She ended up having her spleen removed. She ended up having a feeding tube inserted. She had to have all her teeth removed because of all the medication that her mother put her on, and maybe because her mother had her salivary glands taken out. See, her mother wanted Gypsy Rose to drool in front of people because that played along with the ruse, and so Gypsy's had to have her teeth removed. She was made to sit in a wheelchair even though Gypsy could walk. It is intense. So she's been through an intense childhood and teenage years into her early 20s of abuse, of coercion, of manipulation. And at the same time, she's also learned to be a predator, to be a manipulator. And she used that with Nicholas Godejohn, who just unfortunately happened to be the person he was. Gypsy had met other people online, but nothing had come of it. I think she'd been sprung by her. Sorry, this is all over the place. I just wanted to chat anyway. Sprung by her mother, Dee Dee, and, you know, punished for that. But with Nicholas, she managed to keep it a secret. And after quite an intense relationship online with Nicholas, they arranged for Nicholas to come from out of state to meet her, to meet Gypsy at a movie Okay, so at a Disney movie, and Gypsy Rose was dressed up as a Disney princess in her blonde wig, and she has said herself, you know, that she knew this was a mask and a perfect disguise, because she said, you know, well, what people saw was just a little girl dressed like a Disney princess, when what happened was her and Nick snuck out of that movie theatre during the movie, went into the male's toilet, into the handicapped cubicle, and had sexual intercourse. Their relationship was one that, you know, involved BDSM. It was very intensely sexual, and, you know, I'm pretty sure Gypsy at the time was very aware of that dichotomy, you know, of what she was presenting. And, well, I don't know, La Penelope, what diagnosis Dee Dee would have had, because I don't know if she was ever diagnosed with anything, but it's factitious disorder by proxy that Dee Dee was living out. So that's previously known as Munchausen by proxy. And she no doubt was a narcissist. And hey, Yeoman, how are you? Happy New Year. So it was very dark, the lifestyle that Dee Dee forced upon Gypsy Rose. And certain factors helped her live out this fictitious world, because Hurricane Katrina gave Dee Dee the opportunity to just say, oh, well, all of Gypsy Rose's medical records have been destroyed. But still, I mean, you have to think the doctors had to hold some sort of responsibility. No one stuck up for Gypsy Rose. And they had a house made for them by Habitat for Humanity, you know, so made to accommodate a disabled person with the ramps, etc. They got to fly around to different events. You know, they gained quite a lot financially and through experiences. But yeah, I want to just curious about what people think about how Gypsy Rose is going to move forward now. Some people are quite upset that she's got 6.4 million subscribers on social media and counting. Okay, so, and what she's going to do. Well, really, what can she do? Gypsy Rose did receive an education in prison, and she says herself that she's actually quite happy to have gone to prison. She says that her experience there, getting treatment and receiving a real education, she says this has broken the patterns that she had in life. She says there is no doubt that if she had not been charged and sent to prison to serve out a sentence, and therefore wouldn't have received the care and the education that she did in prison, she says that she would have continued on with the same patterns. You do have to wonder what sort of residue has remained, though. But what I find interesting, okay, so just briefly about Nicholas Godejohn, who was a couple of years older than Gypsy Rose. He was born in 1989. His parents ended up divorcing. He lived with his mother, Stephanie, for a while, who I believe actually died quite young, years ago. I don't know what of. He lived with his mum, then his dad again, and then back with his mother and stepfather, and that was the house he was living in when he met Gypsy Rose online. He is diagnosed with autism, and his entire schooling was spent in special education classes. And so I'm not making this very interesting, but I'm getting there. he would say to Gypsy, like he says, he's said in interviews that from early teens, and this would be at about the time that schizophrenia might settle in, not that I know he's got schizophrenia, but, you know, he would catch a glimpse of himself in the mirror and he would say there was something in his eye that was something else, and he would know that there was something else waiting to come through, and he would tell Gypsy Rose that he had multiple personality disorders. He thought that he, you know, this evil side of himself, he'd said that he'd always been really terrified to explore it, and he regrets exploring it with Gypsy Rose. So he had told Gypsy Rose about it, and, you know, he really felt that he had an angel on one shoulder and a devil on the other. And, you know, the angel was just telling him, just run away with her, just take her away. And all the devil said was, kill the bitch. And Gypsy and him in texts, I think from memory, they used to talk about each other's evil side and everything, but I just wonder how much of that Gypsy had just appropriated. Nick had a really like quite a dreadful criminal charge against him. He apparently had been in a McDonald's one day. This was in 2013 when he was 23. He was sitting in a McDonald's and he was watching porn for hours and hours on end, and accused of touching himself there in the McDonald's. So the charge was disorderly conduct and of carrying a concealed weapon. He had a folding knife on him. So maybe that's, I don't know, maybe that's gone towards his conviction for life, his sentence for life, I'm not sure. What else did I want to just bring up? So he says, part of me wanted the evil to come out. It was triggered by anger, that shadow part of me, and the sweet part of me just wasn't there anymore. It was a completely different person. And yeah, so I don't know. I feel like there's so many different ways you can look at it. Nick had an IQ of 82. He is considered, his level of autism is considered, obviously, by the prosecution as he's able to be independent, by the defense as being level 2 and not able to be independent. But you have to wonder how much grooming did Gypsy Rose do of him. She'd sort of found the perfect weapon, and she really knows how to play people. And it seems that she dropped him like a hot coal when they were both arrested. He confesses, he tells the story of what happened, and she just tells a story of being so frightened by him and not knowing what to do and all of that. But she was really quite the aggressor in a lot of their relationship, in arranging for him to come and meet her in the first place, and maybe in seducing him. As I said, they had a really intense sexual relationship. Nick had a lot of really bizarre fantasies, terrible fantasies. He'd spoken to Gypsy Rose about being able to abuse the mother Dee Dee after killing her, which he didn't end up doing, but he had that fantasy. You know, they both wrote violent messages on Dee Dee Blanchard's social media after killing her. You know, the bitch is dead, and him saying, you know, I slashed her and then I raped her daughter and things like this. I mean, they were just in this very intense vortex. They were in this very intense world of their own, I think, you know. I think it had just built up and built up. It was just such a powder keg. But, you know, for all of the growth that Gypsy Rose says she has been through, you have to wonder how much healing she's really had, because she met her husband Ryan a few years ago through, I think, during COVID, on a prison pen pal program, and they got married. They've actually been married a couple of years, I think, but soon after, Gypsy Rose wanted to get the marriage annulled, and somehow maybe was talked into not doing that. It's just, he's such a strange person. But the interesting thing is he is a special ed teacher, and I just find that really curious, because I feel like he probably knows how to manipulate people and how to deal with people who have, you know, neurological differences and things like that, and special needs. I just find it a very odd choice. And, you know, we in true crime we know that people who've been abused as children, the statistics aren't, especially when they're a woman, aren't that they're going to grow up to be an abuser, but that they will grow up and end up in relationships that are abusive towards them. And you just have to think, is that what's happening to Gypsy Rose now? And what's the outcome going to be of that? Because Gypsy Rose takes care of her problems in various ways, in a particular way, doesn't she? She didn't go to authorities. She's groomed somebody to do her bidding, quite violent bidding, and she's known what to offer in exchange for it. You know, and she knows that she can be perceived one way and be acting and thinking in another way. She's very self-aware like that. And she has learned from her mother. So even though she's a victim, how much of a predator is she? You know, I believe the sentence was right. She should have done time. I'm not sure how I feel about Nick Goodjohn not having parole. He's in prison for life without parole, so he doesn't have the possibility of parole, say after 20 years, you know. Gypsy Rose is 31. He doesn't have the option, say, to get out when he's 40 years old. After some of the same education and treatments that maybe Gypsy Rose has been lucky to have, and whilst incarcerated. So, but, you know, at the same time, she was planning for a long time and then put into action a murder plot to murder somebody that had abused her for decades, whereas he's someone that is just killing on behalf of this person, right? So rather than being someone to guide and make good choices, you know, he's listened to his devil and he's acted it out. So, you know, it's such a divisive thing. But, you know, obviously I think there's no other course for Gypsy Rose than a social media career. What's she going to do? I don't feel like her husband is protecting her and is going to keep her safe and support her and grow a life with her where they can, you know, live quite normally, so to speak. He seems very happy to be with a celebrity. He doesn't seem to be a very thoughtful person, because as I said before, he's turned up to pick her up, and I mean, at one point she's wearing these boots that she can't even do up, but she's been seen in bare feet and in socks, just walking into gas stations and McDonald's and Burger King on their journey back to the state they're going to live in. You know, and then eventually she's taken into a Walmart, I think, to go and get some shoes, and she's walked out in sneakers. You're telling me that this guy couldn't plan to take her some shoes, take her some comfortable clothes? I just really think that just shows a complete, you just have to wonder where his head's at, right? What his priorities are, what he's really thinking about. He had arranged for a neon sign, Ryan and Gypsy, for their photo opportunities of them kissing under, maybe just to say, hey, we're out, we're together, we've been married, they've been married for ages, so that's not like it's new. He's yeah. But I don't know what her relationship is, but I did see something where Chrissy Blanchard, who is going to be sort of helping take care of Gypsy and move her forward in life, but she did say, oh, he seems like a genuine, sweet guy. We don't really know him well, but she says he's genuine and sweet, seemed to fit in with our family okay. And she did say, I wish she had waited, to marry him. You wonder how strongly people are speaking up for her and advising, but Gypsy's probably going to do what she wants. But yeah, her relationship, you just think, how is she going to get out of that? She wanted to get out of it in prison, as if she kind of realized it wasn't the right thing, that she didn't feel anything, that maybe she got carried away, she wanted it annulled, because maybe she realized it was a trap, because it wasn't going to be the true freedom that she wanted, that she wouldn't be able to make her own decisions entirely. But then has she decided that maybe she needs that safety net when she gets out? Well, to me, it doesn't seem to be that safety net. He's making stupid decisions that show that he can't plan based on fact, such as she's going to need footwear, and such as, well, we're not going to be able to go to this game in this other state because I'm driving into this state and I legally have to take you out of this state. But to think, it's like these delusions that the fame just gives special privileges, and this has been Gypsy Rose's problem her whole life. And it seems, has this infected Ryan as well, anyway. Just, I don't know. Wanted to see what people think of it, but I might just delete this because I should have maybe been a bit more prepared and then told people I was going to talk about it, because, yeah. It's just so, it's just so crazy. I really do think she was a predator to Nick Gottajohn, and that it was very unfortunate circumstance that the person that she did end up connecting with and have this relationship with was someone with these genuine mental health difficulties. He's got intellectual impairment. He is socially retarded. So she couldn't have picked a better victim. She couldn't have picked a better, but there's no one here to talk about it that knows about it. So, but anyway, that's right. Not that they're talking. So, yeah, she just couldn't have picked a riper person to use. And you have to think, because she was in touch with other people, right? So I really feel like she did know what she was doing, and that she had met someone, she knew this was it. And she took her time. She says that the plan was really only in action for a year before, even though I feel like maybe she was probably fishing for someone that she could connect with, that could help her get out of this situation. And maybe it's true that murder did only come into her sights that year before, but I don't think we can ever know that, because she's never going to tell us that truth, because Gypsy hasn't ever been fully honest, I don't think. And she never will be, right? She knows not to be. She knows she can't be. She knows now. It's very important that she has this public groundswell of support, 6.4 million subscribers, and she's going to really capitalize on that. And I don't think she's going to just survive for a while. I think for a while she will really thrive and capitalize. But I wonder, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what's revealed, because I still think that there's such an element to Gypsy Rose of play acting and facade. Yeah. No, that's right. I would not expect everyone to know about this. Yeah, for sure. It's, yeah, but I don't really know much about this case. I mean, I've known about it historically. I've known that she's been in prison for this whole time. So, you know, I've pretty much really ignored it this whole time as well, even though it's been, yeah, it's really quite fascinating. But, you know, I think we have to be careful to put Gypsy Rose up on a pedestal. I think she does deserve respect as a victim, but she is also a perpetrator. She can also be dangerous, and she can also be manipulative. And I would be concerned about what people think they're going to learn from her. Oh, we can use her to learn about fictitious disorder. Well, we don't really. We know all about it through her case over the years. There's been plenty of discussions about it from all sorts of professionals who have studied her case and how things occurred. And, you know, maybe there should be an inquiry into how doctors respond to things and their duty of care. And there should be an inquiry into all these operations, into the feeding tubes that she was given, the feeding tube, the over medication, you know, just their willingness to be gaslit, you know, what, you know, and the fact that medical people can be too afraid just to step up because they think they're going to be sued or something. Look, that's why you've got medical insurance, and people need to be less afraid. They need to speak out more, take a fucking stand. And instead they've just let it go from medical specialist to medical specialist, and they have performed some really heinous acts against Gypsy Rose. And you know, so that's one side of it. But I'm not going to believe anything Gypsy Rose says or does, really, you know. She's going to be doing what is the best outcome for her, but I do worry for her still, because she's got this husband who has skills of his own when it comes to being in a authority place, coming from a place of authority and being in a place of power, you know, as a special education teacher, in a position of power over people that are vulnerable. So he's got some skills, she's got some skills. This is going to be an interesting battle. That's all I wanted to say. That's half an hour. I'm starving. I'm going to go and make something to eat. Everybody take care. But yeah, it just irked me. It just irked me that people are saying, oh, let it be, let it go wherever she wants. No. Gypsy Rose is on parole. She's not entirely free. She has obligations to society under the law. And that's why she can't just go wherever she wants right now. She has to go to the state that she's nominated, and she has to fulfill her obligations of parole and finish her sentence that way, and that's just the bottom line. So people should just stop being such weak, bleeding hearts. I don't know. Stop making excuses for people. She knows that this was her obligation. And we shouldn't. If she says she has healed that prison, her education, her mental health care, etc., that she received in prison, and that time period if it's truly allowed for growth and has allowed her to see that she would have carried on one way without it and now she can be another, or she can't then come out and immediately be acting the way that she was 10 years ago. That's essentially what's happening. So you think, what just lip service are you giving us, Gypsy Rose? Because you're saying that you've healed and that, that there is error in those ways and that you really learned how to do it. She was, she was coached by a mother, but she also knew herself. She has skills herself, and she was happy to use them to get. She enjoyed certain parts of her life, even though she was abused by the monster of a mother. And she's got a skill set. She's saying that she knows that she shouldn't use that skill set. And then the first thing she wants to do is come out and use that skill set to meet Taylor Swift and have people forgive the fact that she's supposed to be in Louisiana and not in Wisconsin or whatever it was. That is just nonsensical. And I think we need to open our eyes and just look quite objectively and quite unemotionally at what's presented. Anyway, I'm just interested to see what happens, I guess. And how it all plays out. I hope she really is going to be kept safe. But I'm not sure. Yeah, it's hard to work out how vulnerable she really is. Because, yeah, as I said, she's got quite the skill set. Anyway, I'm going to go. See you guys later. Thanks for joining. And, yeah, see you later.